Hi, my name is Dan Marshall. I'm the chef at Specialty Appliance. We have 6 locations throughout the whole Colorado area. We have 4 in the Denver metro area from Colorado Springs to Fort Collins. We have a couple in the mountains. So I'm honored to be here with Boulder Sausage today, and we're going to make some of my favorite holiday stuffing and ingredients. So today we're going to be doing a cornbread stuffing with chorizo. And it's one of my favorites. I think that'll be one of your favorites too. You should give it a try if you want something a little different than the normal stuffing. So here's our bowl of sausage, the most important ingredient. We're going to be using this for our sauce for the meat portion of our stuffing. So we'll get to going. So what we have here is we've got our pans. We've got a stainless steel pan. Some people get a little intimidated by cooking with stainless steel, but if you let stainless steel warm up, if you let it get hot, and if you put a little bit of fat in it, or if you let it cook and deglaze it properly, it's not something that you should be intimidated by. So we're going to be doing here, we've got our pan. We want to get our pan hot. And so while it's heating up, we're going to chop our bell pepper. And I'll kind of show you how I like to cut a bell pepper. So what I do is I just kind of cut around the side. So I'm actually kind of taking out the little ribs and all that stuff right now. And so rather than cutting in half, I'm left with the whole, all the seeds are right here, which is perfect. And then I can come and take out some of this white stuff, and I'm kind of ready to go. So if I'm gonna have it julienne, I can just start slicing it from this angle. And then if I'm going to have a rough chop, more of like a mirepoix style chop, we can do that too. Just kind of twist it here. But what the nice part about it is that we're all kind of ready to go, and you know, I feel like it's a lot easier than having to fight through the seeds and tear out the side, and you still get most of the meat of the pepper. So that's our peppers. We're going to check our pan again. I like to put it against my cheek because it looks cool. No, just kidding. I also like to feel the heat. So if I do this, I'm getting the heat from the burner as well as the pan, and I just want to know how hot the pan is. So I kind of put it against my face to feel the heat coming off of it, and it's still warming up. So in the meantime, okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to first put in our sausage. So we're going to prep our sausage. This is just one package from the local Q Supers or wherever sausage is sold. It's interesting with chorizo sausage. They have a lot of different varieties of chorizo sausage. Some is kind of in a I don't know what they call it, but like in a tube, and they seal it off the side. There's a lot of fat in it, and there's not a lot of meat, and it's not great quality chorizo. The thing I love about the Boulder sausage is it's still, they use top quality meat cuts. It's lean pork, and they treat it well, right? They respect it. They follow those important cooking procedures, but they also use real food. So you get the taste of the chorizo, but you also get real sausage, which I really like. So we have our pan that's ready to go. We've got that nice seasoning, and we're going to be browning it off here. So for my sausage, I want to make sure that we are, I want to break up my chorizo as much as possible. So sometimes, like if I'm doing it in a soup, or if I'm doing it in a sauce, or like sometimes I'll use the chorizo sausage for tacos. And when I'm doing that scenario, I actually want to keep it kind of full, keep it bigger chunks. And here I kind of really want to break it up. So I'm just going to kind of work it around. You can see with a nice hot pan, the sausage itself almost becomes, the pan itself almost becomes non-stick. It's not like non-stick like a Teflon or a non-stick pan, but it's going to have a lot less sticking to it, which is great. All right. So I'm going to continue working on my sausage and breaking it down. And once my sausage is about halfway done, I'm going to add onions and all the, actually we'll kind of go over some of the other ingredients that go in our stuffing. For our ingredients for our stuffing, we're going to have red bell peppers. That's going to be for the color. We're going to have jalapenos for the heat, and a little bit of green. We have a diced garlic, which is, you always need garlic. We have roasted poblano peppers for a little of that smokiness and more pepper flavor. And then finally we have diced onion. And you can use white onion, you can use yellow onion, whatever kind of onion you want. We're just using a yellow onion today. But we're getting our sausage nice and broken down into little bites. We're breaking it up so we don't have any big chunks in there. We're going to add our bell peppers. We're going to add our poblano peppers that are roasted. So we're currently cooking on a 36-inch wood cooktop, or it's a range top, excuse me. A range top means the knobs are in front. A cooktop means the knobs are on top. And so it's a gas burner with 36 inches, so 4 burners with a griddle in the middle. One of my favorite things to cook on. I'm lucky because I get to cook on all these great appliances, and it's a ton of fun. But one of my favorite things is the Wolf griddle. Unfortunately, we're not using that today, but it's really fantastic. It uses cold rolled steel, so it keeps its temperature really well. But it's perfect for sautéing or for your eggs. It's great for searing things off. It's really versatile. So, but unfortunately, we're not using that today. So here's our ingredient. If you could smell this, it smells really great. We're softening up our vegetables here. We're continuing breaking down our sausage. Now we're going to add our jalapenos. So one thing I want with this dish is I want it to be spicy and I want it to be sweet. So we'll talk about our cornbread that we're using. We did make our cornbread. You don't necessarily have to make the cornbread. You can buy it, but it's really easy to make, and we'll kind of show you how we did it. But I want this to be spicy and I want this to have a ton of flavor. So when it combines with the cornbread, the sweetness of the cornbread, it'll kind of contrast and it goes really great. Okay, we're going to add our garlic. And we're going to let this cook down for a little bit. So our purpose here is to soften up the vegetables. We want to cook down our onions, we want to cook down our peppers, we want to get the flavors throughout the whole thing, but we also want to, because like if it was going into a stew or if it was going into soup, it would continue to soften as it's cooking. It will do a little softening, but it's not going to do a lot. So I don't want crunchy vegetables, I want crunchy onions with my cornbread stuffing. I want it to be, I want the flavor to be there, of course, and I want something, you can tell what's in it, but I don't want it to be crunchy as you're biting it. You can see all that beautiful color. We really want to get that color, people eat with their eyes first, we all know that. And we want to get that color in there. You can see we've got the red, the green, the white of the onion. You can even add some yellow of this pepper. And we're just going to continue cooking that. All right, so we have, one of the ingredients I didn't mention is we have our chicken stock here. You can use whatever kind of chicken stock. I've actually used turkey stock before. That's really nice. You can use chicken stock. I wouldn't use beef stock in this application. I would use a chicken or a vegetable stock, something like that. You can even use water. But again, you want to take advantage of all the flavors you can. So Florida sausage has so much flavor in their chorizo that you don't really need to season it. And if you make your cornbread stuffing and it's good enough on its own, then you're kind of, oftentimes it's easy to over salt because everything's already perfectly salted. You don't want to add too much salt, but I do want to make sure I'm bringing out the peppers and all that stuff. So I'm adding a little bit of salt. So there's our thing. We're going to turn this down on low, and then we're going to get a bowl, and we're going to take our cornbread. So for our cornbread, I cooked it a couple days ago because I actually do want it to dry out a little bit. I want it to take and soak in these flavors. But what really makes my cornbread unique is that sometimes I even call my cornbread stuffing because I really want it super moist. I want it super moist and I want it delicious. So the recipe will be included with this recipe. But what I do is I start with a Jiffy cornbread mix. Super fancy, super high-end, fancy stuff. The same things we've had for the last 90 years or whatever. And I add to that, I add two eggs per box of Jiffy, and I add about a cup of milk. And then I add fresh corn to it, or frozen corn, depending on the time of year. Frozen corn, because it's in the fall. And then I add yogurt, and I add a French vanilla yogurt of your choice. And what I like about that is that you're adding a ton of eggs, so you know it's going to be moist. You have a lot of milk. It's going to be kind of the consistency of like a thickish pancake batter, but it's not super thick. It's not going to be thick like a muffin batter will be. It's going to be, almost pancake batter consistency. And so, but the whole kernel corn in it and the yogurt keep a nice flavor to it, and it also makes it really, it's going to add sweetness. So again, we're contrasting the spicy, savory flavors here with the sweetness of the cornbread. So for this, let's see if I did a good job of putting on my parchment paper. I did, yay. It's really neat. So we're just going to put it in here. One flow. So I'm going to kind of start breaking up my cornbread here. You can add more corn at this point. You can see I've got corn baked into this, which gives a really nice, I don't know if you can see it or not, but you can see a little kernel corns. So it gives us a really nice flavor. I love it. If you like that corn texture and the corn crunch, certainly add more. We're going to put this in here now. And we're actually going to deglaze our pan too with a little bit of chicken stock. So I worked really hard to develop those flavors, and I want to take advantage of all of them. And then we talked about the ease of cooking with stainless steel. One of the keys to it is to deglaze. Whether you need to or not, you're going to use this cooking principle to kind of clean off the bottom of the pan. So I'm actually working, you can see some of the things on the side of my pan getting a little dark, but that has a ton of flavor. There's like a little bouillon cubes, if you can imagine that. They're really great. So I want to make sure, so I'm essentially like cleaning my stainless steel pan right now, where I'm also making sure I'm getting all the flavor off of it. All right, so we're going to put that in here. And you can kind of see now with our pan, it's pretty much ready. Ready to go to the dishwasher, shoes or whatever. And so now we're going to take our tool and we're going to start mixing it together. So I've actually put this, a literal stuffing. I think that stuffing goes inside a bird and like dressing is outside of the bird. I don't know what the official term is, but we're going to do a dressing, I suppose. So we're just kind of mixing in there. You see how it's nice and moist? That's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm going to add a little bit more chicken stock to it. I want it pretty moist. And I can use the pan I used to cook my cornbread in for the next stage, but sometimes that's a little too small because I added all those ingredients. So I've got a bigger pan here, and I layered it with parchment paper just to make it easy to clean. Let's see if we can do this without making a big mess. We're going to dump it in here. The thing that's great about this too is you can put this in the oven, and if you have a convection oven at home, especially what I call European style convection oven, you can do more than one thing at a time. So right now we're just using it to do one thing, but let's say that you have potatoes, or let's say you have scalloped potatoes and you have green bean casserole, or whatever you have on your table at Thanksgiving time. You can just throw this along with it. This can be you can have this at 350, you can have this at 425. Just the higher you go, the faster it's going to cook. But the whole idea is that you can, super flexible and super easy. So we're going to put that in there, and then we're going to put it in our oven, and it's going to take about 40 minutes. So that is cornbread stuffing. We'll see the final result.